As many people who study the JFK assassination know, there was not a lot of evidence that Lee Oswald was involved in the shooting of the president. Witnesses had placed Oswald in the Texas School Book Depository's second-floor lunchroom 5 minutes before the shooting and 2 to 3 minutes after the shots. No one had seen Oswald on the 6th floor. There was a vague description of a shooter in the 6th floor window by Howard Brennan, but certainly not specific to Oswald. In fact, Brennan did not even pick Oswald out of the first lineup he viewed. Brennan also seemed confused and not very credible in his Warren Commission testimony. More than a few witnesses, like Mr. and Mrs. Arnold Rowland, had seen two shooters on the 6th floor just as the presidential limousine turned onto Elm Street from Houston. Multiple prisoners on the 6th floor of the prison building across from the book depository, including John Powell, saw two men on the 6th floor sighting a rifle in what they called the assassin's nest, with one of the men being described as Latin. If you believe, as I do, that Lee Oswald was not supposed to survive the day of the assassination, then none of that would have really mattered. Oswald would have been presented as a lone nut shooter, and the lack of evidence may not have mattered all that much. But when Oswald did survive that first day, and was arrested in the Texas theater rather than killed there, well, now there was a problem if you believed that there was a conspiracy and Oswald nothing more than a patsy. And one of the big challenges with charging Oswald was the lack of direct evidence that he had used the Mannlicher Carcano rifle found on the 6th floor southwest corner, hidden in the center of some boxes. It was bad enough that the Mannlicher did not seem to be a suitable weapon for the assassination. The FBI will report having to place two shims in the sighting mechanism to even be able to test the gun for accuracy. What was important was to get Oswald's fingerprints from the gun. And there were no prints on that gun that could be lifted. None. Nada. Zilch. Absolutely no fingerprints on the gun that were recoverable or identifiable. Here is the Warren Commission's statement. The Warren Commission reported that a few minutes after the rifle was discovered in the book depository building, it was examined by Lieutenant J.C. Day. He determined that the wood was too rough to take fingerprints, but he did apply fingerprint powder to the side of the metal housing near the trigger and noticed traces of two prints. After the rifle was released to the FBI and forwarded to Washington, where it was examined on the morning of November 23rd by Sebastian Latona, supervisor of the latent fingerprint section of the FBI's Identification Division. Latona stated that when he received the rifle, the area where the prints were visible was protected by cellophane. He said he examined these prints as well as photographs of them which the Dallas police had made and concluded that the latent prints were of no value. If photos were taken by the Dallas police of the fingerprint traces, why would they have not taken photos of the palm print that they would later state they found? And the bigger question, of course, is why wasn't the palm print itself sent to the FBI lab? But wait, because Oswald had survived the assassination day without being killed himself, we know he was stalked by Jack Ruby all weekend before Ruby shot Oswald in the basement of the Dallas City Jail on Sunday. Even though Oswald was dead, the conspirators must have decided that more evidence would have to be released that would convince people that he was a lone nut shooter. Too many Americans already believed that Ruby shot Oswald to silence him. And so what happened? Miraculously, the Dallas police will state 4 days after the assassination, on November 26th, that they do have a palm print of Oswald, after all, taken from the Mannlicher Carcano. This difficult-to-believe statement will put forth a story about a palm print being taken by Lieutenant Day, but not sent with the rifle or other material to the FBI lab on the day of the assassination. Now, no one from the Dallas police or anyone else will ever report, mention, or even hint that a palm print had been taken from the Mannlicher Carcano. Is this believable? It's almost impossible to believe because the FBI lab found no trace of powder or palm print at all on the rifle barrel. Here is the Dallas Police Department's assertion. They say that the fingerprint powder used on the palm print was so completely taken up by the tape that Lieutenant Day used that it took up not only all of the powder, but also any remaining bit of the palm print itself. Day will reportedly state that he thought there was still powder and palm print left on the barrel of the gun, so he did not send the print that he took to the FBI. What? Does this make any sense at all? Lieutenant Day would not send a palm print he lifted from the Mannlicher Carcano along with the gun itself to the FBI on the day of the assassination? Or that the FBI would find absolutely no trace of the fingerprint powder, let alone any trace of the actual palm print on the gun when they examined it? Is that believable? Is it credible? And remember that Day had taken no other prints off the Mannlicher Carcano. None. If he had extracted a palm print, wouldn't we have heard about it right away? Of course we would have. But neither Lieutenant Day nor anyone else from the Dallas police or any other agency ever state or tell anyone that he had taken a palm print off of that rifle. And if they had gotten a palm print, they sure as heck would have sent it to the FBI and made sure the FBI was aware that it was coming along with the gun. Well, if Lieutenant Day did not find a palm print on the Mannlicher Carcano the day of the assassination, when he examined the gun and then sent it off immediately after to the FBI, well, how the heck did he get the palm print from Oswald that he stated he took off the rifle?
I had gotten to the funeral home with his body something in the neighborhood of 11 o'clock at night, and it is a several-hour procedure to prepare the remains. And after this time, someplace in the early morning, agents came. Now, I say agents because I'm not familiar at the moment with whether they were Secret Service or FBI or what they were, but agents did come, and when they did come, they fingerprinted. And the only reason that we knew they did, they were carrying a satchel and the equipment and asked us if they might have the preparation room to themselves. And after it was all over, we found ink on Lee Harvey's hands showing that they had fingerprinted him and palm printed him. We had to take that ink back off in order to prepare him for burial and to eliminate that ink.
So, intelligence agents, most probably from the FBI, came and took fingerprints and palm prints from Oswald at the funeral home in the very hours before he was to be buried? And isn't it funny that Oswald was buried on November 25th and Lieutenant Day sent the palm print on November 26th, the very next day, to the FBI in Washington. So now we know where the palm print came from. Well, how about re-examining the palm print today, now that we have such advanced technology as compared to 1963? Forget it. The FBI will state in 1978 that somehow the palm print supposedly taken from Lee Oswald and the Mannlicher Carcano will have vanished into thin air, totally missing from their evidence archives. The palm print taken the night before Lee Oswald's burial and substituted for a print from the Mannlicher Carcano is some of the best evidence that the truth of the JFK assassination was hidden from the American public 60 years ago, and it is still being hidden from the American public today.